Very good. So, Mr. Director General, honorable ministers, excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the International Day of Plant Health. My name is Osama Elisi. I'm the Secretary of the International Plant Protection Convention, IPPC. I would also like to welcome our virtual participants who are tuning in via Zoom or following the live webcast. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let us know where you're from and how you're celebrating the day today by typing in the chat box. Before we get started, I would like to inform you that today's event is being recorded and will be available afterwards on the FAO website. Interpretation is available in Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian, and Spanish, and can be found in Zoom at the bottom bar on your screen. If you are following via webcast on the FAO website, you can select the language of your choice in the drop-down menu right below the video. For those on Zoom, we encourage you to post your questions in the Q&A chat box, and we will address them later during the Q&A session. As you know, today's high-level event gathers notable speakers and presenters. In the first session, speakers will deliver keynote speeches about the importance of plant health at the policy level. In the second session, colleagues from the plant health community will share their technical expertise, focusing on plant health and environmental protection, which is this year's theme. We'll also show you a short video promoting plant health research submitted by some of the most creative young minds in a video contest run by the European Phytosanitary Research Coordination Network, UFRISCO. After the event, we'll invite in-person participants to please join us for the refreshments in front of the Sheikh Zayed Center. Without further ado, allow me to welcome Ms. Jane O'Farrell, Head of Internal Communications at FAO, who will be facilitating the first session of today's event. Jane, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Osama. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to this special event celebrating the International Day of Plant Health 2023. My name is Jane O'Farrell, as Osama said, and I'm the Head of Internal Communications here at FAO. And it is my pleasure to accompany you through the first segment of today's event. For those on social media, we'd love to hear from you. So please join the conversation by using the hashtag #PlantHealthDay. This is the second year we celebrate the International Day of Plant Health, and as Osama mentioned, this year's theme is Plant Health for Environmental Protection. We know our world faces significant changes in ensuring food security, ending hunger, and protecting the environment. The foundation for all of these goals are healthy plants, as they provide food, oxygen, and shelter for all life on Earth. Plants are vital for production, better nutrition, better environment, and a better life. Yet they face serious threats from plant pests, which destroy up to 40% of all crops every year. These pests don't respect national borders and significantly impact biodiversity and the environment, disrupt trade, and jeopardize people's livelihoods. In response to these global challenges, FAO has taken decisive action. Under the leadership of our Director General, the FAO Plant Production and Protection Division is working tirelessly to address these issues. Today's event is an opportunity for us to delve deeper into these topics, explore the ongoing efforts to protect plant health and the environment, and discuss the steps we can take individually and collectively to ensure a healthier future for our plants, our environment, and ourselves. To welcome us all here on behalf of FAO, I would like to invite our Director General, Dr. Chu Dong-yu, to give his opening remarks. Director General, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Moderator. Thank you, IPPC Secretary General. And the first time, I don't want to read the talk point prepared by the original from the ASP, because what you said, what she said, and then I said again. I don't like it. Yeah. So, but thanks to the chat GPT, now I can share the two question answer. More authoritative, more widely covered. But it's a trick. You ask a proper question, and then you get a proper answer. So it's now the question is more important than the answer itself. What means plant health and how to make plants more healthy, much healthier. Plant health refers to the overall well-being and the condition of plants, including their ability to resist and recover from stresses such as pests, disease, and the environment factors. So abiotic stress. To make plants more healthier, there is several steps technically. First, provide proper growing conditions. So it's not only related to plant protection. I always encourage Xia and you, all the division staffs, you are too much focused on the plant disease or pests. Your name is plant production and protection. So when we address the plant health, first, you see, the chat GPT told us provide the proper growing conditions. That's what I learned when I was a student 44 years ago. Different plants have a different requirement for light, water, nutrients. So it is important to research the specific need of the plants you are growing. And that's farmers knows, but unfortunately a lot of stuff here, FAO, you didn't know. And provide them with appropriate condition. Second, monitor for the pest and disease. Regularly check the plants for signs of pest and disease symptoms, such as discouragement, wilting, like a bacterial wilt. I worked many years, or mosaic virus. So it's a symptom of the disease of the virus and the wilt. Abnormal growth. If a problem is detected, take the appropriate action to control and prevent further damage. Third, practice good hygiene. Keep the growing area clean and free of debris that can harbor the pest and disease. Clean tools and equipment before and after use to prevent the spread pathogens. And then you can use the IPM to control the disease. Some areas they use the organic method. So integrated management by pest, IPM. Pest management, you know that. That's your area. So I don't want to repeat again here. And then provide support for plants that are needed, such as staking or trellising. You know, I'm from the horticulture sector. We use a lot for window-proof facilities, staking, against protect plants, which in this early season, windy places, or other protecting measures, even to protect the warming up by red straw, cover the soil. So that's all this and prevent the damage from wind, from other unconditional, and also support the heavy fruit. So if you go to the fruit orchard or citrus and here or lemon, if they have too many fruit, you need the support, staking. Yeah, the supporting measures, sticks and so on. And then rotation. rotation crops, and rotate the location plant from year to year to prevent the build-up pest and disease in the soil. So, and also control the continuous cropping obstacle. Yeah, that's also is very important. And that's a technical. And how to make plants on the earth more healthy by enabling policy and innovation. So again, implement the sustainable agricultural practice, encourage policies, support, promote organic farming, and integrate management and advanced technologies, and also maintain soil health and water. Irrigated water is not polluted, clean, and so on and so forth. And then protect natural habits. That's why we can learn from traditional agricultural practice, indigenous peoples, and enforce the policy that preserve, restore the natural habit, include the forestry, wetland, grassland. So, and also this habit support the plant biodiversity and provide essential ecosystem service, such as pollination and seed disperser. That's why the International Bee Day, we also, so if we offer the holistic package of solution, not only individual from your side, from others, and promoted the reforestation and afforestation, and then also invest in research and development, allocate resources to fund research and development efforts, focus on plant health, resilience, that includes study plant genetics, develop disease-resistant varieties, because any plants, especially, we are not talking about general plants, we are more specific talk about crops. So crop, we need their genetically improvement on the resistance. And that's created the immune systems or resistance. That's very important because you are hardly to mention that because you are from the pathologist. Yeah? So, but what is the foundation for the plant health, crop health? We need genetically improved varieties. And also improve the plant breeding technology, enhance the productivity and adaptability. Because if by the genetically improvement, you can have a more potential to produce more and with less. Otherwise, the farmers, they keep overuse of the fertilizer, overuse of the spray, insecticide and pesticide and so on. So how to of the real fundamental solutions technically, so we need that. So encourage sustainable urban planning. So don't forget if we are not only working for the rural, also we are now more and more people living in the city. And look the Rome. We need the also agriculture urban planning, incorporate green infrastructure, urban gardening initiative. That's why I started the Green City Initiative. At the beginning, I know a lot of the colleagues a little bit feel they're strange. FAO, we are going to have a green city initiative. A lot of people thought maybe because I have a division of OCB or a division of the forestry or office of OCB. No, it's our job. We should have the look at the issue, urban planning policy, and let's promote the integration of plants within city. Makes Rome beautiful not because of the buildings, and also because of the beautiful green and flowers, the fruit, ideally, or gardening. Yeah, that's part of our job. That's also new requirement, especially for people who are from less developed countries. We are now on the quick stage of urbanization. Yeah, we can't repeat build another Roma in Africa. That's why your country, your original country now, you are America. So you original from Egypt. Now your president made the bold decision to build a new capital of Cairo. Yeah, that's the way of the modernization. And improve the air quality, reduce the urban heat island. A lot of big cities in New York, in Beijing, or in other big cities, they have a heat island. Why? Because they are related to our mandate. Green and enhance the overall well-being. Support the conservation and the seed bank, germplasm. So that's also our FAO, the mandate. So, and then for foster international collaboration, encourage international collaboration to address the global plant health challenges. That's why the UN, after International Year of Plant Health, now we have International Day. Yeah. It's not a silo decision. That's why the UN asked us to observe the International Day of the Plant Health. And so address the plant health challenge that includes sharing knowledge, best practice, resources to develop the innovative solutions for plant disease, invasive species, allele species, you can say that, and also climate change impacts. Educate and raise awareness, develop the educational program, public campaign to raise awareness about the importance of plant health. And that's what we also know today. Yeah, and also it's very important we include the One Health approach, because One Health used to be only talk about the zoonotic disease. No, it's too narrow. One Health, we are One Health planet. We need the plant health, soil health, and the plant health, and animal health, and human health. And it's integrated. If we're lucky, we have all these professional divisions and areas we can offer technical assistance. That can lead to the behavior change, increase support for the plant-friendly policy. So, yeah, if we wanted to continue, I can keep another 1 hour, but for that, we have to change the way of thinking. If you don't only talk about your own small silos, about the disease control, and then you fight with among the pesticide or not pesticide, fertilizer, not organic fertilizer, or chemical fertilizer. If you ask the farmers, they are not only focused that area. Like a ChatGPT, they focus all the related areas we should work on, and together as a big team. Thank you. Let's start to change the way we celebrate International Day. Huh? If you are professional enough, you are holistic enough. Otherwise, every time I was invited to come here, talk with you, and then read the very bureaucratic statement, I think that some people online, they will laugh. I know, more laugh than you. I know, they expected so many years. FODG only read the talk point prepared by the P staff. I'm sorry. It's their job, but you are D1, D2. You should be above the P staff. Yeah. Otherwise, I read the P staff, so I'm not that P staff. So, hey, look, the DG is level like me. Why he become the DG? I'm not. Yeah. I want to challenge your P staff first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director General. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker for today. His Excellency Mohammed M. Abubakar is the Minister for Agriculture and Rural Development of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Dr. Abubakar previously served as the Director of Planning, Research and Evaluation with the Kaduna State Environmental Protection Agency in Nigeria. He obtained his bachelor's degree in biology and his master's degree in resource management, both from the Central Washington University, Ellensburg in Washington, and a PhD in watershed management from the University of Arizona, Tucson. Please join me in giving him a warm welcome. Your Excellency.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Dr. Mohammed Mahmoud Abubakar, is unavoidably absent, and asked me to represent him because he's attending another very important meeting with His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He has given me an address, and I'm presenting his keynote address. I see this opportunity to congratulate the Secretary of the International Plant Protection Convention, Dr. Sama, and the entire plant health community on the celebration of this year's International Day of Plant Health, IDPC. You recall that the year 2020 was declared International Year of Plant Health with the objective of emphasizing the importance of plant health to life. The success of that proclamation further led to the proposal by Finland to declare a particular day as the International Day of Plant Health. The United Nations General Assembly, in its wisdom, unanimously therefore declared 12th of May every year as the International Day of Plant Health. This year's IDPH, with the theme Plant Health and Environmental Protection, is coming at a time when the need to protect our environment has become a task that must be achieved. At the International Plant Health Conference held in London last year, participants were unanimous in their stand for the protection of plants as a veritable means of protecting life. It is therefore important to stress at this point that that life is dependent on plants. Therefore, to effectively protect the environment and biodiversity, plant health is very, very key. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in Nigeria, as a mandate, is responsible for agriculture-related activities, which invariably has the largest impact on the environment and biodiversity at large. Through departments and agencies, various activities are carried out to enhance crop production, minimize environmental degradation, institute integrated pest management, protect plant health, among other measures towards achieving food security and, in extension, national and international security. A lot of these efforts towards protecting plant health and the environment are carried out by our specialized agency, the Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service, which is charged with the responsibility for preventing the entry, establishment, and spread of foreign pests and diseases that may be economic importance to the plant health and the environment, is in the forefront to achieving this objective. Times have shown that pests are a major factor in the production of plants and in the environment has resulted in the unquantifiable loss worldwide. In recent times, climate change has also affected the dynamics of infestation in the invasion of pests across the globe, leading to unprecedented outbreak of 82 non-quarantine pests. In our effort to combat these challenges, the quarantine services is continuously being empowered to carry out the functions as mandated by law. There is full-fledged training school of staff of quarantine activities where officers are constantly trained on this aspect of plant health, capacity building in pest surveillance, early warning signals, pest risk analysis, pest reporting, risk communication, risk mitigation, etc. are areas that staff are being trained regularly. You will recall the outbreak of tuta absoluta and full armyworm that the region has been battling with in the recent times. The issue of Fusarium wilt of banana, which has been identified in Mozambique, and the efforts being put in place to combat these pests. Research is constantly ongoing in developing resistant and tolerant varieties, and also bioagents, as well as biopesticides to reduce the impact of synthetics on the environment. Our universities and research institutions are very much involved in so many activities to help mitigate issues affecting plant health and the environment. Several other initiatives by sub-regional bodies like the ECOWAS, regional organization like AU-IAPC, the Convention IPPC, by way of capacity building, has in no small way measure assisted our government to cope with some of these challenges. And for this, we are grateful to ECOWAS, AU-IAPC, and IPPC. The task to safeguard plants, health, and the environment is a collective one. And as we strive to achieve this task together, all hands must also be on deck to make it happen. You can count on the support of Nigeria. We want to repeat, please count on the support of Nigeria. We are really ready to support you to fight this menace. On this note, Nigeria wishes IPPC and the entire plant health community a successful celebration of this year's International Day of Plants Health. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Our next keynote speaker is the Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the People's Republic to China, to FAO, sorry. His Excellency Wang Difu is the former Director General of the General Office of China to Taiwan Agricultural Affairs. His Excellency was mainly responsible for daily operations, information, security, and public affairs. He oversaw agricultural affairs related to Taiwan, departmental coordination, and agricultural work safety. In his current role as ambassador, he has been actively promoting agricultural trade between China and Italy. Please welcome His Excellency Wang Difu.
谢谢主持人。尊敬的屈同玉总干事、女士们、先生们，大家上午好、下午好、晚上好。刚才屈同玉总干事做了非常精彩的演讲，他说重在行动，不要宣读稿子。我既宣读稿子，我们也重在行动。非常荣幸，因为你是大使，应该非常荣幸出席今天的活动，与世界各国同行共同探讨植物健康这一重要话题。近年来，全球范围内植物有害生物和外来入侵物种的影响越来越大，给生态系统和人类生活造成严重影响。植物疫情已经成为以动物疫病和人类传染病并列的全球性健康问题。加强植物健康保护迫在眉睫。植物是地球生态系统的重要组成部分，在净化空气、涵养水源、保护生物多样性方面发挥着至关重要的作用。植物为人类提供了98%的氧气和80%的食物。植物健康关乎粮食安全、农业生产安全、生态环境安全和人类健康福祉。粮农组织估计，植物病虫害若不加以预防，引发的植物健康问题，每年可造成全球粮食产量损失近40%。加剧饥饿问题，经济损失超过2200亿美元。此外，植被退化引发的生态和环境灾难，还将进一步加剧粮食不安全形势，威胁人类生存基础，需要国际社会高度重视，共同应对。2022年3月29日，联合国大会将每年的5月12日定为国际植物健康日。通过在全球、区域和国家层面开展持续广泛的宣传活动，提升各国政府对社会公众对保护植物健康意义的认识， 去年首个国际植物健康日活动上，各方围绕植物健康与粮食安全进行了广泛深入交流，号召加大投入，促进植物健康领域创新发展，以保障粮食安全，推动粮食生产、流通及消费转型，有效凝聚了国际社会加强植物健康保护的共识。今年的活动主题聚焦植物健康，促进环境保护，既与去年一脉相承，又紧扣近期全球植物疫情多发频发的严峻形势，恰逢其时，意义重大。我们必须持之以恒，倡导各方重视植物病虫害导致的大规模减产及对全球粮食安全造成的重大影响，促进国际植物健康标准实施，加强植物保护体系建设，提升植物病虫害预测预警和可持续治理水平。女士们、先生们，中国是农业、林业生产消费大国，面临诸多植物健康问题。一方面，境内病虫害疫情多发、重发频发，重大作物病虫害疫情多达100多种，常年发生面积60亿亩，就是4亿公顷次以上。特别是草地菜叶蛾、水稻两千害虫、小麦条锈病、赤霉病、柑橘黄龙病等发生危害呈加重趋势，严重威胁粮食及重要农产品生产安全。另一方面，境外有害生物传入威胁加大。据不完全统计，近10年传入中国的农业植物病虫害达22种，是前10年的1倍多，对农林生产安全、生态环境安全造成严重威胁。面对严峻挑战，中国政府立足国情，统筹施策，抓牢抓实重大病虫害疫情监测预警、植物检疫和生物安全防范，有效防范了植物安全风险。一是建立了植物保护法律法规体系，先后出台了《植物检疫条例》、《中华人民共和国进出境动植物检疫法》、农药管理条例、农作物病虫害防治条例等法律法规，对植物健康管理的不同环节作出了规定，依法防治检疫。二是强化植保专业队伍建设，建立起国家、省、市、县4级植保质检专业机构，农业植保质检专业人员达1.6万人，林业植保质检人员达2.2万人，口岸检验检疫人员达2.1万人。实施植保能力提升工程，建立了病虫害监测网络，提升病虫监测预警能力。三是大力推进综合防治和绿色防控。早在1975年，中国就确立了预防为主、综合防治的植保方针，长期持续推进农作物病虫害综合防治。2006年以来，又将公共植保 绿色植保作为新策略。近5年，中国农作物病虫害年平均防治面积80亿亩次，也就是5.33亿公顷，挽回粮食产量损失1.4亿多吨。同时，大力推广生态调控、生物防治、理化锈防控等绿色防控措施。2021年，主要农作物病虫害绿色防控覆盖率达46%，三大粮食作物统防统治覆盖率达42.4%。4是依法强化植保检疫监管。近5年，针对农作物种子苗木累计实施产地检疫近667万公顷，签发调运农业植保产品检疫证书近100万份。多部门协作，构建起植物防疫防线，努力降低植物疫情从境外传入，在境内传播扩散的风险。5是积极参与国际植保健康领域合作。2005年，中国加入国际植物保护公约，以各缔约方认真制定一系列国际植物检疫措施标准，采取协调一致的植物检疫措施，防范植物有害生物跨境传播扩散，积极参与联合国粮农组织实施农作物病虫害综合治理项目，共同保护全球植物健康安全，强化区域植物病虫害防治合作，举办亚洲区域草地胎蛾监控防控国际研讨会，通过亚洲区域草地胎蛾可持续治理协作倡议，力所能及提供植保援助，及时向遭受严重沙漠蝗虫灾害的巴基斯坦和中非等国家派遣防控专家，并捐赠生物农药和植保无人机等设备。女士们、先生们，同一个世界，同一个健康。植物保护健康，维护良好生态环境，促进农业生产，事关人类共同福祉，是各成员国的共同责任。中国愿一如既往支持联合国粮农组织在植物健康保护方面发挥引领作用，积极配合国际植保公约秘书处工作，加强与各方合作，为推动2030年可持续发展目标如期实现贡献中国力量。预祝本次活动取得圆满成功，谢谢。
Thank you very much, sir. Our last keynote speaker is the Deputy Director General for Health and Food Safety in DG Santé of the European Commission. Ms. Claire Burry is responsible for food sustainability and international relations, food and feed safety innovation, health and food audits and analysis, and crisis preparedness in food, animals, and plants. The European Commission and FAO enjoy a fruitful partnership, and the Commission has also been a steadfast financial supporter of the IPPC. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Claire Burry. Ms. Burry, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jane. Thank you. It's a bit of all that work. I don't know how I managed to eat and sleep and so on. But anyway, thank you very much. It's really a privilege to be here today. I think, Jane, you and I are keeping the female side of things going, as I understand it. And so it's a pleasure to be supporting you in that respect. But joking apart, this has now become, I think, a great tradition, a celebration to think about what we're doing on plant health. What have we learned? What can we do better? How can we work to better, and so on? But I think I very much agree with what the Director General said, which is it's not about staid speeches. It's basically about actions, and it's about breathing life into the work that we do and communicating it to others. So first of all, I wanted to say a few words about the fact that it's plant health and the environment this year that we're celebrating. In the EU, we are keenly aware of this link. We've had, sadly, several non-indigenous plant pests that have heavily impacted our environment and, of course, our agriculture and our plant life. And we've had to take strong actions to eradicate or contain the pests. I wanted to mention two examples. First of all, I think you're all familiar with Xylella fastidiosa, which has had a really disastrous effect on some of the olive growing regions in Europe, in particular in Italy, and now in other parts of Southern Europe as well. It's already the 10th year that we're fighting this plant bacterium, and we still don't have a robust solution. So we are working on prevention, surveillance, controls, destruction of invasive plants, and of course a few resistant varieties remain so far, and these are the only solutions that we've had, but our researchers, I'm glad to say, are working hard, and we remain hopeful. We're optimistic that we will be able to move towards eradication, although it's not going to happen tomorrow, of course. But I think this has illustrated to us very clearly how closely connected our plant health, environment, food security, you mentioned it, Jane, at the beginning as well, the cultural and social aspects of our societies and how much plants are important to that. And I'd like to give a shout out to EFSA, the European Food Safety Agency, who have put online today to celebrate International Plant Health Day, a very informative, I think, cartoon. So, of course, it gives information, it gives clear, trusted, transparent information, but it does so in an entertaining way to raise awareness of the risks and the problems that there are with Xylella. The second example I wanted to mention is a bit more positive because it's on the preventative side. It's the emerald ash borer, which is an insect which attacks ash trees, of course, and it's not very far away from Europe and our eastern borders, and it could potentially wipe out our entire ash population. So in consequence, our forests are being very carefully checked. The pest isn't there, and we're working on a biological control agent so that we can limit the impact of the natural spread. So what have we learned from these cases and others? First of all, and it's been mentioned already, I think today, that we need a well-functioning and implemented plant health import regime with a trusted phytosanitary certification. But beyond that, we need an effective border inspection system, extensive surveillance and reliable diagnostics, and a swift alert and response system. And I'll come back to the diagnostics in a minute. But now I want to take a look beyond plant health as such, because our experience in the EU shows us that it's only really when we embed plant health in a broader policy that we achieve the objectives that we want and that we give plant health the focus that it deserves. So we have, as you know, the European Green Deal, which is about making Europe the first climate neutral continent by 2050. It's our commitment to tackling the environmental and climate-related challenges, including threats to the environment and biodiversity. We really appreciate that biodiversity because we know it's important for our natural and economic wealth. So plant health is a cornerstone of this Green Deal. And healthy plants, of course, mean we can reduce our dependency on inputs like plant protection products, which can be dangerous for the environment. This helps us reverse biodiversity loss, and it's an inseparable part, as the last speaker, as the ambassador said, for One Health. The use of antibiotics in plant protection is already banned within the EU, but only an effective plant health regime will allow to decrease use of other antimicrobials and pesticides in general, and we are very much working on that. So putting plant health in the Green Deal and at the centre of that is essential. But the Green Deal is not just about Europe. It's about how we interact globally and internationally as well. And that's the last part of what I wanted to say, which is it's been mentioned already that the fact that we have ever-increasing global trade, we have to trust each other's plant health systems, we have to work on those systems together, we have to be able to rely on the phytosanitary certification. We depend on each other in this. There is no option but to cooperate. We have to do that, and the IPPC sets a global platform for such cooperation, and it is a platform in which we in the EU believe. As you said, we've contributed with resources, we contribute with money, we spend a lot of time in the IPPC because we believe in it. And the platform has now come, and Osama, I can see there, and I think he's to be congratulated for this, the work on the strategic framework from 2020 to 2030. There are 8 development agenda items, and they're all important. But forgive me, Osama, if I focus just on 3 of them for a moment. So the trio of strengthening pest outbreak alert and response systems, the diagnostic laboratory network, and the global phytosanitary research coordination, I think should really be at the centre of bringing us towards a robust global surveillance and rapid reaction. And as Erasmus, the great philosopher, said, prevention is better than cure. And you will see shortly now a video from our young researchers of how this can be put into practice through something very simple, which is the lateral flow test, with which we are unfortunately all, I think, too familiar now. And at least I think it's some positive spin-off that we have got from the pandemic, that the young researchers have been able to put this into use into preventing plant pest disease. So we need to really put our collective weight behind the IPPC and the strategic framework. We know what the goals are. We agree on those goals, but let's, as the Director General said, let's make this a moment where we commit to more action. We're not just here to do speeches. Let's walk the talk, and let's make sure we can achieve those objectives. So let's celebrate today. It's an opportunity as well to raise a glass, to shake hands, to congratulate ourselves on what has been done, but look and see, as I said before, how we can learn the lessons going forward. In the EU, I mentioned already, EFSA today, we are trying to promote more awareness. We're trying to do it in innovative ways, and I congratulate the colleagues in EFSA, especially in the communication section there, because they do great jobs. But that's just the beginning for us in terms of promoting plant health on the back of this day. We too often, I think, take the simple things in life for granted, like the forests in our countryside, the beautiful, the restful parks that we have in our cities, the food we buy in the corner shop. But these are not a matter of course, and they all depend on our plant health. So today we get that opportunity to remind ourselves of that and others, and I wish us all a very successful day of plant health and a very interesting session here of speeches and videos and talks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire, and thank you to all of our keynote speakers here today. Now, in closing this first segment of today's event, I'd like us to turn our attention to the short video that Claire just mentioned, produced by young researchers and plant health students as part of a video competition organized by the European Phytosanitary Research Coordination Network, EUFRESCO. This competition aimed to engage young researchers and promote the development of innovative solutions for plant health. In the coming weeks, EUFRESCO will select the winning entry to help raise awareness on plant health, especially among the youth, who are instrumental in coming up with novel solutions to protect the world's plants. Video, please. Okay, I would like to thank all of our speakers once again for their presentations. It's been a pleasure moderating this session. And to open the next segment of this event, I'd like to invite the IPPC Secretary, Osama El-Lissi. Osama, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jane. Thank you. And thank you very much for facilitating this very inspiring session. And I know the Director General is very busy, has been very gracious to spend some time with us today. And before you leave, Mr. Director General, we wanted to let you know that we take your advice to heart for not being bureaucratic and focus on action, on plant production, plant protection, and we do have by chance many subject matter experts happen to be here today that are listening to your comment. So we take this to heart, and we thank you so much for your presence with us today.
Thank you. You were the famous professor in the United States. So I was a professor in China.
Okay.
But between the professor and the manager is more deliverable. Professor just tells the basic information and knowledge to students.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to the next session, I would like to introduce our technical presenters. First off, Mr. David Cooper is the acting executive director of the Secretariat of the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity, UNCBD. Mr. David Cooper formerly served as the Deputy Executive Secretary at the CBD Secretariat since October 2015. Mr. Cooper has more than 30 years of experience in environmental and agriculture science and policy, including more than 20 years with CBD. As the Secretary of CBD COP15, Mr. Cooper was instrumental in facilitating the complex pathway that led to the successful finalization and adoption of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. Today, we are very fortunate to have Mr. Cooper present the very important topic on tackling global threats, invasive alien species, and biodiversity conservation. Mr. Cooper would deliver his presentation via a video message. So please play the video.
Good day. I'm pleased to join you for this International Day for Plant Health 2023 to focus on tackling the threat of invasive alien species and to highlight the new Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. Invasive alien species are one of the 5 main direct drivers of biodiversity loss. They have negatively altered native biodiversity in every type of ecosystem, and they represent a threat to ecosystem integrity and function. They act through predation, competition, and disease. Analysis of the red list shows that birds, mammals, and amphibians are increasingly being driven towards extinction by the pressure of invasive alien species. Moreover, invasive alien species have major socioeconomic impacts through decline of ecosystem services, crop losses, and damage to infrastructure. In fact, economic costs are conservatively estimated to be more than $100 billion a year, and the cost is more than doubling every 6 years. This is because the number of invasive species continues to increase, as shown by this graph from the 5th edition of the Global Biodiversity Outlook, published in 2020. Later this year, we'll have an updated assessment from IPBES, the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. The Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework was adopted at COP15 in December 2022 to address biodiversity loss. It has the mission to take urgent action to halt and reverse biodiversity loss, to put nature on a path to recovery by 2030 for the benefit of people and the planet. It includes a target 6, addressing the threat of invasive alien species. And this target builds upon the former Aichi Target 9, where we actually saw good progress on identifying and prioritizing invasive alien species. Target 6 of the new framework aims to eliminate, minimize, reduce, or mitigate the impacts of invasive alien species, and to do so through 2 main strategies. Firstly, prevention. That is, taking measures towards controlling the pathways of introduction and establishment of priority invasive alien species, with the specific aim of reducing the rates of introduction and establishment by at least 50% by 2030. And secondly, by eradicating or controlling invasive alien species, especially those in priority sites, such as islands. Information such as that provided by the Global Invasive Species Database and the Global Register of Introduced and Invasive Species is essential to support science-based decision-making, capacity building, and in particular in controlling pathways of introduction. This slide shows the frequencies of introduction according to the 5 major categories of pathways: deliberate release, accidental escape, and contaminants or stowaways in transport and through corridors. The CBD and IPPC are active members of the Interagency Liaison Group on Invasive Alien Species, alongside FAO, UNEP, WTO, the World Organization for Animal Health, CABI, among others. This group and its members have collaborated on the implementation of CBD decisions on invasive alien species, on the development of standards, identifying and filling gaps in the international regulatory framework, on the definition of common terminology, capacity building, technical assistance, and information sharing. We look forward to continued collaboration for the implementation of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework and its Target 6. Success will depend on such collaboration and on supporting a whole of government and whole of society approach. We will need everyone working together to achieve the goals and targets of the framework and the Sustainable Development Goals. I thank you.
Thank you so very much, David. I appreciate your sharing your thoughts and ideas and dedication with us. Our next presenter is Mr. Dirk Nemtes, Team Lead on Agriculture, Forestry, and Land Use Unit of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. He has over 10 years of experience in intergovernmental processes on climate change and land, with particular expertise on the Warsaw Framework. Today, we are very pleased to hear from Mr. Nimitz on the topic unpredictable weather, unhealthy plants, the impacts of climate change on crop and plant health. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Dirk Nimitz.
Thank you and good afternoon to Rome. I guess I best share my presentation from my screen. Is it correct?
It's correct.
Okay. Should be starting now.
We have it.
Perfect. Thank you for inviting me to speak also about the important topic of plant health and climate change. And I would like to start this with a small discussion on the Convention and the Paris Agreement and their link to food production and food security, and where this all sits in our framework of different conventions. As most people know, the UNFCCC was adopted in 1992 as one of the 3 Rio Conventions with almost universal membership. And one of its key objectives is to ensure that food production is not threatened. And of course, as we just heard this morning, crops are an essential part or the essential part of food production. In our convention, items usually negotiated in a framework that is divided into adaptation issues, mitigation issues, means for implementation streams. But there has been arranged since 2017 a dedicated agriculture negotiation item highlighting the specificity of this sector as well. 2015-16 started a new course of action under the Paris Agreement, with currently 195 parties having ratified it and looking to implement climate goals that are nationally determined. It requires all parties to forward such goals and report regularly on emissions, on climate actions, and on support provided. The Paris Agreement went a step further than the Convention from 1992 in recognizing the fundamental priority of safeguarding food security and ending hunger. With this context, I also want to give a bit of a scientific background from the recently published 6th assessment report of the IPCC, which provides a scientific basis for the activities under the UNFCCC Convention and the Paris Agreement. And I won't go into all details, but you can see a number of adverse impacts from human-caused change that are continuing to intensify. And there's widespread and substantial impacts that are attributed to climate change and that have an effect on the one hand, water availability and food that is needed for food production, also on patterns of water distribution and patterns of rainfall and availability, erratic rainfalls as well. And with that affects ecosystem structure, species range shifts, and changes in timing. And with the very unfortunate effect that invasive alien species, animal species, pests and diseases are much more mobile than the crops. So there is and plants. So there's a stronger effect because they can spread further and farther with the changing climate and the changing conditions and the environmental growing conditions than the plants can. So there's robust evidence that agricultural pests and diseases have already responded to climate change. And in the near term, every region in the world is projected to face further increases in climate hazards. So there is multiple risks to ecosystems and to plant health and to a decrease in food production in some, if not most, of the regions. This continued global warming is projected to further intensify the global water cycle, including its variability, the monsoon precipitation, and can lead to very wet and very dry weather and climate events and seasons, which is usually, all extremes are usually very bad for plant health, as farmers can easily confirm. We have compound heat waves and droughts, which are also bad and which often help the spread of these pests and diseases and are projected to become even more frequent. And there's a likelihood and impacts of abrupt and potentially irreversible changes in the climate system, which can further trigger if and when tipping points are reached. What this means is that we have a high level of water stress. It can be too dry, it can be too wet, and it can be too erratic in the rainfall pattern, even if the averages are still fine. And with every increment of warming, regional changes in mean climate and extremes become more widespread and pronounced. And future climate change is currently, according to the IPCC, predicted to increase the severity of impacts across natural and human systems, and will increase regional differences and will severely impact plant health and crop production. Many agriculture, forestry, and other land use options provide adaptation and mitigation benefits that could be upscaled in the near term. So there is ways to address this. There's ways where we can learn from each other. We can look into regions that have similar climates as we are predicting to face in other regions, that have similar species that may be more resilient to future drought or flooding or other extremes of the climate system. Effective adaptation options include cultivar improvements, agroforestry, community-based adaptation, farm and landscape diversification, and also, as we heard from the FAO/DG earlier today, urban agriculture, which is coming into focus more and more. These absolute response options require integration of biophysical, socioeconomic, and other enabling factors so that they can be delivered effectively and throughout the globe in different regions. Climate resilient development needs tried and tested options which are available but different in different regions, and they need to be designed and redesigned for diverse contexts and existing agricultural systems, and need to be scaled up and applied widely, looking at the impacts and the predicted impacts that we are seeing. And of course, fairness is part of the solution. We need to take everyone with us, including smallholder farmers, that are often the most impacted by these climate change impacts. Just as a short excursion, I want to touch base on what was, for the last 5 years, the Coronivia Joint Work on Agriculture, and with a landmark decision last year at the COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, became the Sharm el-Sheikh Joint Work on Implementation of Climate Action on Agriculture and Food Security. The Coronivia Joint Work on Agriculture laid the groundwork where parties agreed on 6 broad and holistic focus areas, including soil health, including livestock management, including socioeconomic dimensions of climate change and others, and dealt with each topic over the years in a series of workshop reports, lots of presentations, and concluded on all of these items where these conclusions were adopted and showed the way forward of what is needed. So the Coronivia Joint Work on Agriculture really put out the roadmap at the political level, dealt with different topics, and built the foundation for implementation of exactly what is needed: the transfer of available options to address climate change and to help addressing the impacts of climate change throughout different and diverse agricultural systems throughout the world. And at the COP, parties to the UNFCCC have agreed that this should be taken further, more with a stronger focus on implementation and a strong focus also on food security. So the decision from Sharm el-Sheikh captures the conclusions from the different workshops, really signaling highest level of political agreement on those conclusions. It invites parties to consider policies and measures to implement those conclusions, including for crop production and plant health. And it invites future COP presidencies and other actors to also take them into account. And parties have agreed on a 4-year joint work continuation to look into how can we really foster the implementation of action. In addition, there is a discussion on a Sharm el-Sheikh online portal, which could also deal with issues related to plant health more strongly. And this will be discussed further in the upcoming SB sessions, where we continue negotiations starting 5 of June in Bonn. I'll end it here, but I'll be available for questions later on. And I thank you very much for your attention. Back to you, Osama.
Thank you so much, Derek. Appreciate it. Moving on, our next presenter is the Executive Director for Global Operations of the Center for Agriculture and Bioscience International, GABI. Dr. Ulrich Kuhlmann has served in this position since 2016, overseeing the management and operations at GABI's 10 locations across Asia, Africa, Europe, and the Americas. He also manages PlantWise Plus, which supports countries to predict, prepare for, and prevent plant health threats. Previously, he served as GABI's regional director and head of GABI's Sweth Arthropod Biological Control Research Program. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Kuhlmann as he presents the topic, Harnessing the Power of Data for Plant Health and Environmental Protection. Go ahead, please.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, this is really a pleasure to be here. Many thanks, Osama, for the very kind introduction. I think it's a very important event today, and of course, it's a pleasure to be around. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like, most probably I need to. So now you see the entire thing?
Yes.
I hope. Excellent. Good. Good. So in terms of what we have heard already, it's rather clear that we all understand that it's estimated that the global population will reach almost 10 billion people in 2050, and this means that we need to step up our crop production significantly to cater to the growing numbers of people. As we have heard now from Dirk Nemitz, very precisely and impressive, the global climate changes, the agriculture sector is feeling its effects, and therefore crucial operational changes to produce smarter solutions and reduce environmental impact have never been more important. So data collection and effective analysis are essential to maintain stable food stores for future generations. As we all know, data is power. Whoever controls data has the power and means to create services and products, allowing them to benefit from business insights and providing them distinct market advantages. Tools that collect, store, and share data along the agriculture value chain, also known as the digital agriculture, can contribute to exponential income growth, better decision-making, better services and products, as well as greater efficiency, productivity, and profitability. So, but does that all mean? What does it all mean for the smallholder farmer? So one thing is rather clear, that many farmers, particularly the smallholder farmers, do not benefit from the sharing and exchange of agriculture data yet. Just to remember for all of us, universal, affordable internet access was named as one of the indicators 9C within the SDGs. However, vast inequalities exist along the lines of gender, geography, and income. Women, especially rural women, remain excluded from this entire digital revolution. In the last report from the Alliance of Affordable Internet, it's being clearly said that internet prices remain unaffordable in 52 of the 95 lower and lower middle income countries recorded. That means almost 1 billion people live in these countries where prices are unaffordable. So I wanted to make sure that we keep this in consideration by being too enthusiastic about the power of data, at least that we are pragmatic about this. So, and that brings me now to the point, where can data make really the difference to farmers? Most probably two major areas: data which provide farmers granular data on rainfall patterns, water cycles, fertilizer requirements, and more, because this enables them to make smart decisions, such as what crops to plant for better profitability and when to harvest. And the other area is the pesticide area, which has been a continuous issue due to its side effects on the ecosystem and human health. Data allows farmers to manage this better for recommending what pesticides to apply, when and how much. By monitoring it closely, farmers can then adhere to government regulations and avoid the overuse of chemicals in food production. So this is all very important. Before we move on, I like to look at how we deal with data. And I think the paper from 2016, which was compiled by a number of different scientists, where they define the principles of fair data, is still very important to mention. We are talking about that the data should be findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So I think a lot has been done over the recent years, that the quality and the curation of data has improved, and that many organizations adopting fair data approaches or similar instruments. CABI develops and scales replicable interventions for improved fair data management, sharing, and reuse that support development initiatives in the agriculture and food sector. Working especially with the funders, we help embed good data practice from the start of the investments. So now I like to move on and give you a few examples in the time which is available. The first one is the example of the global initiative, Global Burden of Crop Loss. This initiative aims to provide rigorous, authoritative evidence on impacts, causes, and risk factors of crop loss. We link crop models with field trial data to understand attainable yield under local environmental and socio-economic conditions. Then we compare it against agriculture statistics to understand the yield losses. Text mining approaches help us derive information related to pest impacts worldwide and collating it then into this database. Pest impact data combined with field data and Earth observations gives us an opportunity to estimate pest impacts in various cropping systems worldwide, with the overall aim that the evidence on the drivers and impact of crop loss will help direct funding, policy, and research efforts to reduce crop losses at the farm level. The next example is a pest risk information service. This so-called PRICE global initiative addresses the risk of crop loss by providing preventive advice so that farmers are better able to prepare for pest outbreaks. Data from a variety of sources, satellite observation, weather data, geographic data, and details about the biology of the pests themselves are combined in a data cube to run algorithms which ultimately produce data advice on the optimal timing to monitor and intervene against insect pests in a given location. This information is used to give farmers spatially explicit advice to help manage local pest outbreaks. Tailored messages are used to provide early information to growers in a particular region. And this is all equipped by and supported by PlantWise Plus network, which provides the agriculture extension service providers the information which is required to deal with these kind of pests, and wherever possible, recommending low-risk products when, as I said, when possible. The next and last example, which I like to give you, is the CABI Bioprotection Portal, which is an open access global digital resource that enables the end users, also the farmers and the farmer advisory service, to correctly identify and source and apply registered biopesticide products against agriculture pests. It provides also information in terms of knowledge about biocontrol, but also about IPM. So this is, of course, essential information that farmers need to replace hazardous pesticides and reduce the impact on human and environmental health and access also new markets, by the way. So and this is, of course, rather important for this year's topic, where we want to talk also about environmental protection. The tool is already available in 38 countries. It is always available in the local language and in English, and it's also available online and offline. So this kind of tool, for example, provides real-time data which crops and pest users are being searching for and which kind of alternative products they are looking and in which country they are operating and what they are really interested in. And at the same time, it provides also information in one hub where which kind of products are being registered against certain pests and crops in a particular country. So you see there are lots of opportunities of how these data can be used. And this is very exciting, of course, but I wanted to say, yes, it is very exciting, but not everybody currently is involved in this excitement. But most probably over time this will come, but there is still a way to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ulrich. We appreciate your participation and insight today. Once again, I would like to remind our virtual participants that you can post your questions in the Q&A chat box in Zoom, specifying which speaker you are addressing the question to. Our in-person participants here will also have the opportunity to ask questions during the Q&A session. So be thinking about questions for our panelists today that they can engage you on. We now come to the last presenter of the day. Mr. Gregory Wolf is the newly elected chair of the Commission on Phytosanitary Measures, CPM, the governing body of the International Plant Protection Convention. Greg is no stranger to the IPPC community. Before being elected as CPM chair in March 2023 during the 17th session of the CPM, Greg had been actively involved for many years in the IPPC community, representing the North American Plant Protection Organization. Gregory is currently the director of the Plant Export Division of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. He began his public service career in 1996 and joined the federal government in 2000, where he held a variety of important agricultural-related positions focused on plant health and international trade. Colleagues, let us all welcome Mr. Gregory Wolf as he shares his insights on strengthening partnerships to achieve the IPPC strategic framework. Greg?
Thank you. The partners in plant health. The benefits derived from plants, in particular healthy plants, are shared benefits for society and humanity. In this regard, plant health could, or perhaps should, be seen as the truest representation of the public good, as human life ultimately depends on plant life, which implies that plant health must be protected. These shared benefits also imply a shared responsibility in protecting plant health. Equally, it is also readily apparent that good outcomes with respect to plant health can only be achieved by working together in a coordinated way, with the development and use of formal partnerships forming a key part of this. The importance of effective partnerships in protecting plant health applies at all levels of our work, from understanding the importance of plants and plant health, to assessing risks to plant health, and to developing associated mitigation measures and strategies, such as the strategic framework of the IPPC. It also extends to related communications and coordination in the use of common and effective messaging. Protecting plant health is complex, extremely challenging, and entails considering potentially negative impacts from a wide range of diverse sources. Given this, no single action can be sufficiently effective. Positive outcomes require concerted efforts in multiple areas on an ongoing basis. Events, impacts, and issues are increasingly interconnected and codependent, and their negative effects on plant health are being exacerbated by factors outside of our control to varying degrees. In considering what we can learn from nature itself in protecting plant health, the concept of co-evolution could, in a way, be mirrored by co-evolution of our regulatory bodies through the formation of partnerships and working to evolve our approaches. In this regard, effective partnerships should provide for an active feedback loop on how activities are progressing and how successful our efforts are, in order to allow for the most effective activities to be maintained and expanded to lead to continuous improvement. Even within individual national government activities, it seems rare that a single issue can be dealt with without some engagement among different departments. Whole of government approaches based on coordination of activities and resource use reflect the need to work in concert to maximise effectiveness. It also ensures that governments can benefit from combined expertise and experience, and ensures that all responsibilities are clear. The agreement that forms the International Plant Protection Convention itself represents a way of bringing together contracting parties and regional plant protection organisations to advance key plant health objectives as a broad partnership. Indeed, the text of the convention makes both direct and indirect references to the critical role of partnerships in preventing the spread of pests. The IPPC's governing body, the Commission on Phytosanitary Measures, is essentially a partnership of 184 like-minded contracting parties, 10 regional plant protection organisations, the Secretariat, and all of those who support its work. The Commission represents a forum in which passionate representatives of the contracting parties and the regional plant protection organisations come together in a spirit of collaboration and compromise, with the support of the Secretariat, to find a way to develop guidance and implement activities that will protect and improve plant health. This year's Commission meetings included a paper on promoting strategic partnerships in implementing the IPPC. Among other things, the paper identified key multilateral partners, such as the World Trade Organization's Committee on Sanitary and Phytosanitary Measures and the Convention on Biological Diversity. It also highlighted the contributing roles of academia and research organizations and the private sector. And without doubt, we need the general public to see themselves as a partner in plant health, or as partners in plant health. And this implies coordinated and targeted communications, fostering understanding of the importance of plant health, garnering efforts to help, and providing recognition of those efforts. Regarding the private sector, it is clear that we need to engage and identify mutually supported approaches in many areas, such as those with direct effects on commerce and trade, and to understand and consider the practical realities and challenges involved in commercial economic activities. The IPPC's work on sea containers is a great example of this, and it is apparent that more progress has been made as more of a partnership-based approach with the private sector has emerged. As we've heard throughout today's presentations, pressures making work on plant health more difficult and complex are increasing. The frequency of negative impacts is increasing, and climate change is magnifying these impacts. Therefore, now, more than ever, we must pursue effective partnerships to maximise our efforts and results. And we've heard from several partners already today, and we can see today from these comments and presentations how important partnerships are. I would say the IPPC is very well positioned in this respect and must continue to focus efforts to exercise all appropriate partnership opportunities. So today's International Day of Plant Health is a way of raising awareness, communicating the importance of plant health, and I hope encouraging the formation and engagement in partnerships that will support plant health. The IPPC and indeed the world faces immense challenges relating to protecting plant health, but I'm confident that the IPPC community will continue to rise to these challenges, and the use of effective partnerships will support this. Therefore, in pursuit of its plant health objectives and its strategic framework, the IPPC will continue to engage in numerous activities involving partnerships and will be seeking enhanced and new partnerships in the months and years to come. I would encourage all involved to make every feasible effort to engage in such partnerships and to engage within them for the benefit of us all. And that concludes my comments, and I'd like to say thank you again to the Secretariat, to Osama, and all who are participating in today's International Day of Plant Health. Thank you very much, and please continue this very important and good work. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Greg. We appreciate your insight and sharing your thoughts with us. We are very fortunate to really have knowledgeable presenters today, and so we very much appreciate that. We are fortunate to hear from all the technical presenters covering really important topics that will further enrich the conversation on global plant health. We now open the floor to the Q&A session. Some of the questions we've already received. Thank you for those online who posted questions. We'll address the questions down the list. But first, let us open the floor here. And reflecting on some of the comments from the Director General and other presenters today, please be mindful of asking any questions you wish to ask of our presenters. As you do so, please state your name, your affiliation, and the question you'd like to ask. And if you know which presenter you would like to have address your question, please let us know. So with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, the floor is open for questions. If you raise your hand, we have microphones around the room. We'll come to you, and you'll have the ability to ask any questions you wish to ask of any of us. This is your opportunity to ask questions about plant health. And we have two brave participants here in the room. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I get up. Wait a sec. So, hello everyone. I have a question not specific to someone. Maybe you can all answer to this question. It is related to plants, of course, especially about GMOs, like genetically modified organism. I would like to know what is the stand of the FAO regarding GMOs, if it can help to reach the objective of plants health and everything. So can you tell us a bit more about it?
Next question, please. No. No, thank you. Let us address one question at a time, and I know we have many subject matter experts here that can answer some of those questions. And I know GMO was not addressed, but we are fortunate that we have Shaw here, that he's happy to volunteer to answer this question. Shaw? Answer the question.
Thank you very much. I think this is a very interesting question. Can you hear me? Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Thank you for your posed question. It's a very challenging question here in the field. But of course, everybody knows that the future agriculture solution will be high technology, including information technology, biotechnology, and the GMO is one of the biotechnology. Of course, we're leading the process for innovation for agriculture is very important. You know that FAO is a neutral platform. We established a platform to encourage all stakeholders come here for forum, for discussion, how to fully utilize this potential and support agriculture. Because biotechnology is a very complicated issue, I think, nowadays. We should do it step by step and follow the procedure by procedure. This may be so far. Of course, FAO is very supportive, and then we are trying our best to establish a very good platform to all the stakeholders come together, sharing view and exchange information. This may be so far I can tell you. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Shah, next question. If you would state your name as you ask those questions, I'd like to know.
Yes, so good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paolo Mattei. I'm a second-year student of Global Governance, Tor Vergata University. And I thank you all also online for your enlightening speeches. So my question is related to what Dr. Kuhlmann mentioned earlier and the relevance of data. So my question is, how do we make sure that data, but also, so how do we make sure to reach with our ideas and with our information, also rural areas, and how do we make sure also to collect ideas and most importantly criticism from them? Like, is it provided in all those acts and provisions that we mention and we go through? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I wanted to ask Dr. Kuhlmann if were you able to hear the question?
Yes, of course, I was. Okay, and I think I was trying already to mention in my presentation that the inequality of the access to these kind of agriculture data is a major issue. I think some of the tools which are being developed have been developed in such a way that even the end users are not being considered. This is a major issue. It's not even owned by the national partners, and there's a lot of critique in the space right now. And there are certain principles which have been currently developed for the principles of digital development, which in my opinion is a very interesting initiative, which really pay attention that these kind of tools are being developed in such a way that the end users are being really considered, that only tools are being developed which are also sustainable and accessible, and where from the beginning it's being considered that certain end users have only very low bandwidth in order to access this. And I think that there are really good trends in the direction, but the most and the biggest elephant in the room, of course, is to make these data available, because it's rather difficult. We might be able to find an agreement between the governments of how we want to develop these kind of tools, but of course we still have the private sector also involved in this initiative, in this global space, and we have to make sure that the partnerships are also existing not only between the governments and these.
So it seems that we have a little bit of connectivity challenge, but I think we've gotten the gist of the answer. Hopefully Dr. Kuhlmann will be able to reconnect here. Okay, so with that in mind, let's move on to next question. Yes, sir. We have a microphone for you.
Thank you. I'm Abdullah. I'm working here with World Food Forum as a youth leader. And my question is not about from a technical side, but now we see the advancement of technology, and we always hear a word AI, artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. So we FAO always been in the forefront of technological advancement and in agricultural sector, as other sectors are utilizing these technologies in different ways. For example, in in all the way you can, so in food and agriculture sector, especially in plant protection and disease forecasting, or in those areas, how FAO is seeing implementing these technologies and advancing with the flow. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much, Abdullah. It looks like Mr. Shah would like to address your question.
Okay, thank you. Very comprehensive question about the digitalization for plant protection. Now, I think plant protection, there's two directions in the future. One is called green plant protection, use most non-pesticide control measures. Next one is called digital plant protection. So in the digital plant protection, number one is dealing with precision monitoring, survey monitoring. So this is the digitalization. Use the drone, something else, yeah? And the second one is precision spray of pesticides. Because precision spray pesticides increase efficiency of pesticides. And the second area. Number three, I can say maybe you know that. Use digital technology to promote the trade. Nowadays we have FITO, electronic certificate. This is also digital technology and in the plant protection. I think it's a major three area. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much, Dr. Shah. We have one more question from the floor, and then we'll go to the online question. Okay. Go ahead, please.
So, good afternoon, and thank you all for your wonderful speeches. I'm Andrea Albanese, a global governance student from Tor Vergata, third year. So I would like to link to the previous question that we had still about technology, data, and how can we possibly reach small farmers and small private? How do we even put all this technology, and how can we connect them, and how can we reach them even? Because I don't think like this is really accessible for everyone and for such small farmers. I'm talking about maybe Europe, but also as well, I think in China, is it possible? So thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Shah, would you like to follow up on that?
Thank you. Very concrete, practical question. Yeah, nowadays we have a bigger challenge of agriculture. We have a small scale farmer. I think about 80% of farmers small scale. So how does small scale farmer dealing with a big market? This is a linkage, how to make a linkage, you're right. Now technology is important for FAO and for integration of available technology. Make integrating a different package, a solution or module. And then through solution, this module, and then we can now FAO is promote farmer field school. Maybe you heard that. Farmer field school is the best approach to educate the farmer, and then ask farmer to use this kind of solution, and then by participatory this kind of approach, and then we increase the farmer's capacity, so farmer can use this solution, and then to extend the new technology, a new but also practical technology. I think it's very successful for the FAO. By the way, I want to mention to you, and the farmer field school was created 35 years ago by FAO. Now this year, starting from this year, and the FAO is going to reimagination and the re-modernization of farmer field school. This means at the new stage to promote support sustainable agri-food system, we need a very strong, powerful farmer field school to integrate all the new technology and then to extend to the farmer field. This is the best approach. Over to you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shah. Okay, keep your questions coming, but let us kind of pause for a second on taking questions from the floor and go to some of the questions that we have received online. One question, let us maybe prepare Dirk to answer this question. How is the climate crisis affecting developing countries with regard to plant health? And what are the international organizations are doing about this? So Derek, would you like me to read the question again?
Well, I think I got the question, but it's a vast question, so thank you for that one. First, I would say that there's a huge diversity in developing countries as well, right? There's different countries have different ways of being impacted, but we see a vast impact on countries from climate change, both in terms of climate change impacts that lead to, for example, harvest losses completely, as well as to more slow onset changes, as we call them, that lead to increase of diseases and decrease of plant health. And there's, I think the one thing that is brought together in the convention, and on which many others are also working, is an exchange of experience, exchange of technologies, exchange of what is working in other areas. So on the one hand, we really have to make progress on mitigation. We have to reduce emissions. We have to slow down this climate change impact. Otherwise, if we don't manage that part, then we will have really difficulties on the other side. And the other side is the adaptation side. And of course, developing countries have the lowest, especially least developed countries, have the lowest capacity to adapt to climate change by themselves. They have the lowest capacity to know what is happening, the lowest capacity to inform the farmers of what is happening and inform them in time, especially when there's a bad year, and to react to that. And they need that capacity. So there's climate finance, there's development finance, there's also technology transfer, there's capacity building, all faced in that direction. With, I think, when we get technology needs assessments from countries, there's a huge focus on the agriculture sector. This is really the main concern from many, and I see that many of the agencies, including FAO, but also other UN agencies and international development banks, are putting a strong focus on that. We need to be able, in a changing climate, to or increase food security. And finally, a new discussion that has opened in the UNFCCC is the discussion on loss and damage, which is not specific for agriculture, but it's also the discussion that needs to be held on how can countries be compensated when they have severe losses in that environment. Thanks for the question, and maybe somebody would like to add some aspects that I missed, because the question was really big.
Very good. Thank you very much, Derek. Appreciate it. The next question may be best addressed by Mr. Greg Wolf. The question is this. We have talked about partnerships for protecting plants and plant health. What is the role of civil society and the youth in this? How can these stakeholders get more involved in protecting plant health? Greg, would you like me to read the question again?
No, thanks, Summer. I think it's clear enough. And I'm very glad to see the inclusion of youth in the question. As we've heard in various presentations today, the future of society and humanity really does depend on protecting plant health. So there's a key role for youth and for all of us in making sure we have healthy plant life for the future generations. There's various ways that civil society can get involved, and some of these are being done individually in countries, and then there's possibilities for more coordination. So there's been presentations on the use of enhanced technology today and the use of data. And one of the things which I'm familiar with is the use of the seemingly ubiquitous smartphones to enable uploading of data of potential plant pests to national plant protection organisations for diagnosis, or not diagnosis, but for identification rather, which can allow national plant protection organisations then to act quickly if there is a concern that it may be a quarantine pest. That's one area. But also raising awareness is another key aspect of this, whether it's relating to people who travel across borders. We heard earlier that plant pests don't respect borders, and it's very easy for people not to understand the risk of moving a plant commodity from one country to another and introducing a plant pest. Indeed, throughout history, and especially recent history with more international travel, we're very well aware that some of the key quarantine pest situations we've faced have been through I shouldn't say unwitting, but travellers moving products without realising that they are also moving a plant pathogen. So awareness, communications, acceptance that we're all involved in this, all involved in protecting this public good is a key part of it. But, really there's a role for the IPPC there currently and in the future to make sure that we are not only focusing on national plant protection organisations and contracting parties and our formal partnerships, but through our communications efforts and other activities, making sure that we are considering ways to involve civil society as much as we can, because it's as much for their benefit as everyone else's. We all depend upon it. So a bit of a woolly answer, I'm sorry, but I'm not sure if that really addresses the question. But can I just say, Osama, I think some of my colleagues here may also have comments on this, because all of the presentations we've heard in this technical session have had some aspects that relate to this. So if anyone else would like to comment, feel free. From my view, it's up to you, Osama.
Very good. Thank you very much, Greg. Appreciate it. Okay, let's go back to the floor here for additional questions. So, any questions from the floor? Please.
Hello, my name is Maria. So my question is, do you think in the long term the use of GMO will be harmful for society, or which possible consequences it can bring? Thank you.
Okay, it's back to GMO. John?
I already told you before, FAO is a neutral platform. Of course, support, promotes new technology, there's no doubt, to solve the problem nowadays we are facing in agriculture. And FAO is willing also already done, is establish some platform for all the stakeholders come here for talking, yeah? And then I think this, I remember last one, maybe 2019, 2018, I remember there's a forum. And this time, of course, we are going to organize it, I remember, because of COVID. I make sure there will be agenda. Remember, FAO recently we have adopted and innovation strategy for innovation, right? Strategy for innovation. I make sure here including all the new technology, including biotechnology. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shah. Okay, let's see if we have any other questions. Keep them coming, and there are no bad questions, by the way. So ask any questions that you may have in your mind. Okay, while we are pausing here on the floor, let us go to online. There are a couple of questions that have come up. One is, there are several, actually, really good questions. Which are the most significant and or useful aspects that decision makers expect from research, from the research community, in order to be able to derive and select management strategies to tackle biological invasions? So what are decision makers looking for from the research community? So that's the question, and perhaps we can contribute to this question. It's overarching questions. So I don't know if I'm allowed to answer any questions or not, but I may make just a quick comment. So what are we looking for from research community? In the area of production, we need tools to expand crop production around the world. We need to increase diversity of crop production. In the area of crop protection, likewise, we need more tools to help us prevent pests from moving around, tools to help the early detection and rapid response in the most effective way against invasive pests. So ultimately, we need to be able to produce more food so we can feed the world. That's what we need from our research community. I don't know, Dr. Shah, if you would like to add any to that. Yes, research from the research community.
Okay, yeah. And in fact, and this nowadays, what is the solution? And nowadays, and now for agriculture, we are facing a lot of challenge, more than ever before. All the challenges are very complicated. The solution will be technology, innovation. This is the key. In this case, of course, we will encourage research academia to work together, find a solution. Of course, with the support of stakeholder, different stakeholder, and particularly what is my concern, is I feel concerned, is the demands driven is important. What does farmers need? And then we do some research, not only research in heaven. Maybe this means practical research is very important to solve the problem. Yeah, this maybe is really important. Like our teacher already mentioned, action. This may be very important for this message. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Shah. Moving to another question. And this question may be to Dr. Coleman again. The world's health depends on natural diversity. How do we ensure that data and techniques complement each other and we do not eliminate nature's natural biodiversity while we are identifying solutions that could interact and complement one another as opposed to working against each other? So I guess the question is striking the balance between finding technological solutions to deal with pests while in the meantime preserving nature. I think that question was directed to you, Dr. Coleman.
Okay, not an easy one, because I think the principle of the pest management of the future is definitely that we need to watch out that we protect biodiversity. And of course, we need to come also to the in a way to the point that we need to use biodiversity in the best way to ensure that the pest management approaches which we are implementing in such a way that they are not in contrast what we want to achieve. Also in a way, my slogan is always, we are using biodiversity to protect also biodiversity in the agriculture landscape. We need landscape decisions anyway. We need to be extremely clever that we are working in an agriculture system. The agriculture system includes an ecological system, and so we need to just watch out of that. And when we take that on board, then I think we will make a very good step forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, now to our last question for the day. And it's another really excellent, complex question. How do we ensure that the advancement of the green policy does not impact global food security and agriculture trade? That's an overarching question, and we invite any of the speakers who would like to contribute to answering this question. Green policy versus, if there's such a thing, versus food security. That's the question. By the way, we do have subject matter experts here also in the room. If you wish to contribute to answering some of those questions, please let us know. I'll start with comments, and then if anyone else, please let me know if you would like to contribute. They go together, actually. The green policy and food security, they go together. In fact, there's an interaction between, having healthy natural resources and being able to produce food. Think of biological control agents. When they thrive in a natural environment surrounding cropping production systems, they can come in, migrate into fields, and help in controlling pests. Okay? Likewise, when we integrate, as the Director General indicated earlier, when we apply integrated pest management tactics, as opposed to relying exclusively on broad-spectrum insecticides, that in itself helps too in balancing the green policy with food security. So they go together. Our challenge for all of us, how you strike that balance so we don't go too far in either direction. I think that's where we are right now. It's a challenge that we have now that's going to stay with us for a while. I don't know if Shaw or anybody else, my colleagues from the panelists would like to make any additional comments on this question.
No, I think Osama, you're absolutely right. It must go together. No? Green policy and food security, they're complementary. And because we really need to come to the point where we're replacing, when we talk most probably about plant protection in this regard, we must come to the point, as you already pointed out, that we are replacing hazardous plant protection products with less toxic ones. This is the overall aim. Of course, the issue is always for the entire world, and because we have here developed countries and less developed countries, that the solution must be affordable and also accessible and really available in the countries. I think this is a major issue which we still have to deal with. So, but they are going together. And otherwise we are not making the point which you want to make also for today, that plant health is also important for environmental protection. And this must come together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm looking at the clock, and now I think we have reached the end of the program. But before we close this important day, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call on Dr. Jingwan Cha to officially close the International Day of Plant Health 2023. Cha?
Yeah. Thank you, Osama, facilitator. Excellency, distinguished guests, and dear participants, and dear colleague, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to provide you some concluding remark at this important event. However, I can say it's very difficult for the last speaker because everybody get tired, right? Want to go leave this room as soon as possible. However, we are prepared. There's a refreshment waiting for you. So for me, please 5 minutes, be patient, right? Okay, I will finish my job. And also today, I think this event is really very successful. It's important, I just recall what the DG mentioned about the plant health. Nowadays, globally we mention one health, one world, one health. And the one health is composed of animal health, plant health, soil health, yeah? Now, we are dealing with plant health. What's plant health? Because in my understanding, plant health have 3 key components. Number 1, prevention, phytosanitary issue, IPPC. Second one, IPM, integrated pest control. And number 3 is sound pesticide management. So these 3 key components is plant health, but not enough. Supported by 3 other important issues. Number 1, health seed. Second one, health soil. Number 1, healthy cultivation. So this is plant health, is my understanding about the DG's speech. 3 plus 3. Now plant health have 3 major pillar functions. Number 1, to ensure food security. Second one, to protect environment. Today we're dealing with it. Number 3 is trade facilitation. These 3 pillar function for plant health. Yes, last year, the first year of Plant Health Day, we are dealing with food security. This year is environment protection. What's the next year? Trade facilitation. This is important for us understanding. Because today's, this meeting I can say is very, very, very successful. Why is very, very successful? I would say 3 indicators. Number 1, active engagement. According to my data, today we have more than 120 people present in this room. And then in the Zoom meeting, we have 360, and a lot of people in the webinar. So this means active engagement. Second, excellent presentation, I can say. We have 4 keynote, including DG's opening remark, keynote speech, and the political issue, political statement, so facilitating. And the 4 technical speakers, they're here. They're really experts in a different angle to support plant health related to environment protection. So I can say today, there's 2 hours events, 3 keywords conclusion. Number 1, inclusive. We have people from globally, regionally, nationally, from a government, academia, everybody engaged, inclusive. Second, informative. I'm sure we learn a lot. I sit here also learn a lot. Think over about what plant health. Number 3, very inspiring for the future. We should be very proud to work in this field. Because today's meeting is very important, so the successful, I think is owing to the active engagement for everybody and also for the speaker. So now remember, what today's plant health main topic is the environmental protection. So in this case, I can say that through our work, plant health can play 3 important roles in protecting environment. Number 1, development and the implementation of an international standard for phytosanitary measures, ISPM, can effectively prevent distribution of invasive alien species. So in this way, we can protect biodiversity and environment. Second, development and implementation of integrated plant pest management IPM strategy, we can significantly reduce pesticide application. So in this way, we can protect biodiversity and environment. Number 3, development and implementation of a sound pesticides management strategy. We can substantially minimizing application of highly hazardous pesticides, HHP. So in this way, we can diminishing their harmful effect on the human health and the environmental health. So this is plant health and the environmental protection. 3 key issues we should work on for it. So this is today's conclusion, why we celebrate for environment protection, 3 areas. Again, phytosanitary issue, IPM, pesticide management. Yeah. To ensure plant health contribution to plant environment protection, everybody here today, every stakeholder have a role to play. Number 1, government and donor should prioritize protecting plant health by investing in and implementing policy, legislation, program that promote plant health and plant resource. This is for government and the donor. Second, the research we discussed and academia should continue carrying out research on pressing phytosanitary issue, promote innovation in plant health management, and encouraging knowledge sharing. Number 3, farmer and food heroes should learn how to adapt sustainable plant pest management strategy to prevent and mitigate the presence of harmful plant pests and disease. Lastly, it's very important, I can say, the media and the wider public should help us in raising awareness of the importance of plant health at the global, regional, and national level. Before closing this important event, successful event, I would like to thank you all, our in-person and the virtual participants, for your active engagement. To all our interpreter and the messengers for your professional service. To all our colleagues of NSP Division and IPPC Secretarial, and for your great teamwork for this excellent preparation and organization for this event. Wish all of you have a very pleasant International Day of Plant Health. We are looking forward to meet you all again at IDPH 2024, May 12th, here. And now, I would officially declare that the second International Day of Plant Health was a global success. Thank you. Over to you, Osama.
Thank you very much, Shah. So, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all of us, we wish to express our sincerest appreciation to our keynote speakers, technical presenters, esteemed colleagues here in person, as well as virtually participating, and the rest of the plant health community around the world for celebrating this remarkable day with us. See you next year for the International Day of Plant Health 2024. Thank you.
So,